Okay. Alright. Hi guys, welcome to Skybound Prep. This is the reading section, lesson 1 on the reading passages. My name is Brandon and I'll be your tutor today. First of all, we're going to mention some major changes to the new SAT. All the questions are now passage-based, meaning there are no more sentence completion questions to worry about. And also, the types of subjects for each passage covers is the same in all tests. So the sections will consist of one passage dealing with the U.S. history, U.S. and world history, two passages dealing with history and social studies, and two passages dealing with science. For the science passages, they're similar to the ACT science passages. And these are ones that contain data interpretation questions, and they have you analyze charts and graphs. Okay, and you can follow along with the presentation on the bottom of your screen. So we're going to talk about some general approaches. First of all, you want to skim over the questions and plot them accordingly next to the line of the passage. These questions will specify where you can find them in the passage. And plotting questions allow you to focus your attention to portions of the passage where you can find important information for answering questions. Underline any vocab that is mentioned in the questions. So we're going to go to a practice test and look over or do this plotting question strategy. So this is the first College Board test, practice test. Here's a reading section. So we've got the first reading passage. So here we have the reading passage. We're going to go to the questions first, and we're going to scan them to look for ones that are passage-based, that ones have line-based questions. And then let's see, so for number 3, here, lines 1 and 65. So you go to lines 1 and line 65, and you plot question number 3. So you point an arrow in number 3, and then you do the same for line 65. And you do that for every other question. So in this case, it would be 7 because that's the first paragraph. Number 8, line 2. Number 9, lines 32. And after you've done that, you plot the questions so you can look back so it's easier and it uses less time so you can spend more time answering the questions. So now we're going to go to our next section, our next approach. Read over the passage carefully, underlining key information that helps you understand the passage's tone and main idea. Box proper nouns, dates, and time indicators. So you just want to, like I said, just underline key information like proper nouns. You might want to read this little passage at the beginning to understand the context of the passage. But other than that, it's common sense just to underline important information. As you come across plotted questions, read two sentences above and below the plotted area, then answer the related question. So when you, like it just says, you plot, let's say, line 60, you're going to read above and below it, not just that one line, so you get the general context of the question. Once you finish the passage, begin answering questions that you were not able to answer on your first run through the passage, and save main idea questions for last. So, like I said, just save main idea for last. You're first going to do the plotted questions, and then after that, you should get a general idea of the passage. Eventually reading the passage, and then save those main idea ones for last. In this case, it's like the 1, 2, 1 and 2 are main idea. The rest are just non-plotted based on the text questions. Read through each answer choice for each question and underline 2 or 3 words for each choice. And that should sum up the general idea. And you can look for patterns by underlining and seeing which answer choice is correct, or which ones you can mark out, depending on one word. And keep in mind, if one word is wrong, then the whole answer is wrong. So underlining, for example, keywords, you just do like, here one character, you don't have to analyze that, but arguing your truth on your own, receiving a surprise, reminiscences, so you get the point about underlining. Any tone shifts within the passage will be reflected by the first and last sentence of the paragraph. If you're confused, just look at the tone shifts that occur in the first and last. And you can always look at the last paragraph to regain your bearing. So, you want the tone and main ideas to read the first paragraph. The last one, you should be able to get the general tone. If there's a shift, you can differentiate the first and last. Other than that, you should get the tone and main idea just by reading the first and last paragraphs of the passage. Now, try to pace yourself through the SAT. The entire reading section. This is right here 53 questions, but in this case, it's actually 52 questions, and it will take 65 minutes, which is approximately 1.25 minutes for each question. Now we're going to discuss some question answering tips. So read the entirety of each answer choice. Answer choice must be 100% correct to be the right answer. Even if half of it's true, if the rest isn't, then the whole thing is incorrect still. So every part of the answer has to be correct. One word can make the whole thing wrong. And in order to cross out some of these one-word answer choices that make it wrong, you can look at the words such as absolute language, extreme language, and intensifying language. All these languages are too extreme. And if you notice these words, you could probably look up a list or something, but if you see these words, cross out the answer choice because it's most likely wrong. Watch for the correct information that doesn't answer that particular question. Make sure the answer choice only pertains to the section of the passage that the question specifies. So make sure you answer your questions based on the passage and the area that's given rather than the whole passage itself, because it's usually based on the area given, like a few lines above and below in context. Answer choices that match your opinion but don't answer the question incorrect. So don't answer the questions with your opinion, rather base it off the text. Questions and their answers are often similar. Use these questions to answer the others. For example, if you see different questions with multiple answer choices, mentioning the isolationist nature of wolves, then they're probably the right ones. So, as I just said, many questions and answers are similar, and you can base one answer off the other. Hopefully, you can gain context with one question and an answer to answer the other one. When you come across something that makes your answer choice wrong, cross it out, then cross out the letter of the answer choice. This helps you show your work and understand why you eliminated the answer. So let's say you do find a word with an absolute language, extreme language, intensifying language in the answer choice. Cross it out and then cross out the letter itself so you know why you answered the question how you did and why you crossed out an answer choice if you did. If the question mentions one specific sentence or word, look at sentence and surrounding sentences if necessary. That's basically saying just read a few lines below or above. If the questions do not specify any lines, leave for last, so we get using an idea and tone question. And you can answer these usually through the first and last paragraphs of the passage. Answer choices will match the main idea and tone, so if you're stuck between the two, the one that most likely matches the passage will say, so it will be right. And be careful not to answer the passage with prior knowledge or your own opinion. So make sure you get the general tone of the passage and you can choose your answer choices off a matching tone and cross out the ones that don't match. If you're stuck on a question that is a part of a pair, ask for evidence from the passage shown in the second question, and eliminate any answer choices from the passage do not support the first question. So when they have like evidence-based questions such as 9 and 10, you may want to look at these answer choices and match it with these, so you can find exactly where the answer choice is and then match it with the answer choice here, because you're basically finding evidence for this answer, so these are connected. When answering metadata of 10 questions, mark the tone of each of the answer choices. Again, this tone can be used to mark out answer choices. It's pretty simple with that. Vocab questions are not strictly based on the passage, so when answering a vocab question on the new SAT, it's often helpful to read the surrounding sections of the passage to gain context. So, another example would be form. Here, that's asking for a vocab in context. So you want to read areas around it to get in the general context, and hopefully you can get the answer choice off that. So now we're going to look at the double long passage, which is a special case in the reading section, and we're going to discuss a few approaches with that. So first of all, we're going to go to the double long passage. And which is here. So first step, plot the questions in both. So just as you did before, and mark which passage each question deals with, passage 1, 2, and both. So in this case, you mark them based on the passage that they're with. So this is passage 1, so you write a 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. This is now 2, so you write 2, 2. And these, all 4 of these are both, so you write B instead. So you can know which question correlates with which passage. So once you've done that, you want to read passage 1, underline and box as before, and answer 5 questions as you come across them. So after you've plotted the questions, like it says 9 through 17, you still want to plot them like always. You always want to answer all the ones pertaining to one after you read it. And we can go actually before you answer passage 2, before you read passage 2 and answer them, you want to answer some of the both questions based on the information that's given. Like it says here, before you begin passage, you want to look at both questions and you can limit some answer choices. Now you can read passage 2, answer the questions that finish them with the both. So it's a little change, but it's just basically looking at the both questions before reading passage 2 and answering some based on prior knowledge of passage 1. Sorry. Okay. So we've discussed the single passage and the double passage. Now we're going to talk about a few small tips. For about every 9 reading questions, you'll have approximately 11 minutes to complete them. So make sure your timing is right. Practice is key. For the new SAT, there's no guessing penalty, so never leave any questions blank. Like it says, just never leave questions blank because there's no guessing penalty. If you're having trouble deciding between answer choices, trying to have what you think the answer is in your head and match it with the answer choice. We'll use that strategy later. A good strategy if you're having trouble in time is to scout the passages. You can easily tell which ones are harder ones and which ones are easier ones, so you can pick the order of how you answer them. So make sure you answer all of them and don't miss any questions, and always answer every question, even if you don't have an answer or have time. And usually the hardest passage would be a history one, so leave those for last. And again, watch your time. Don't spend a huge amount of time on one question. You can flag the questions that give you trouble, and you can go back to them later if you have time. Many practice tests to get a feeling of how much you can spend on each question. So that's a general outline of the reading section. Okay, so now after we went through all the tips and approaches, we're going to look at the practice test and answer one passage. Also, if you're online, please feel free to ask questions. Okay. So, right here it says Akira came directly breaking out tradition. Okay. So when you first go to reading passage, I would look through this first before reading anything. Then, like we said, we want to plot the questions. This case would be 3, 7, 8, 9. Once you've done that, you want to answer those questions before reading the passage. So what does directly most nearly mean in these lines? So we plotted them, we can see them easily here. So you read this real quick. You want to read about the whole paragraph to gain the bearing of the context of directly. Then you go to line 65 and read about here. There's a common similarity between these two, as the term go-between is used in both, as can see here and here. So given that, what does a go-between most likely mean in the context with directly? It actually doesn't mean frankly, no, confidently, no, without mediation, yes. You're basically like skipping a step, so that's what the go-between is doing. So instead of going directly, he uses a go-between. So it's without mediation, answer C. Okay, we skip those. The main purpose of the first paragraph is to, so we actually went through the first paragraph just there, so we just read it. It seems like he's analyzing something with a few questions. Keep in mind these questions are rhetorical, so it's not really he's asking someone, but he's asking himself. So is it describing culture? No. Is it criticizing? Criticizing is pretty harsh. That's not the answer. Is it questioning suggestion? It is questioning, but there's no suggestion that makes it incorrect. It's actually analyzing a reaction. As rhetorical questions usually are used to analyze something, or like ponder something within your head. Intrinsicity here. Number 8, as in line 2, form most nearly means. So first of all, you're going to look at line 2, think of a word that fits form. Was that it? Had he followed form? Had he asked his mother to speak to his father? So had he followed form? So what is a form here? I would probably think it's like a procedure, task. So which one most likely fits here? Since we're talking about some kind of culture, especially with marrying, we should write a little bit on it. So is it appearance? That's not a procedure. Custom? That is similar to procedure. A structure? Not really. Nature? Not really. So most likely it's similar to the word you thought in your head. A procedure would be custom. The answer is B. What does Akira say his meeting with she is a matter of urgency? Line 32. This is an evidence-based question, so you want to look at these lines. Well, line 39. Does that fit with explaining why he wanted to meet with she? That's not exactly the line. 39 to 42. I don't know, chose you. I've had opportunity to America, so that is actually the answer. That is why he wanted to go. So that was simple enough. You actually have to just skim through these lines, read them, and find the answer of why he was being with she as a matter of urgency. So what fits that interest of him going to America to join the Japanese community is being offered a attractive job. Answer C, answer B. Simple as that, look at the evidence, then answer the question. So after that, you would read the passage, answer the main idea questions, and several other questions that are not plotted through lines. So you might want to pull this up on Calendar, or you can just read it right here. I'll leave you a few seconds, and you can pause the video to read it. Okay, next part. Okay. So, given that you read the passage, which phrase best describes what happened in the passage? One character intrudes, nope. A surprising request actually occurs. Reminiscing about the choices. Reminiscing is not the right word here. Criticize too harsh. Answers B. This is the most general one, and it's exactly read the passage. That's exactly what occurred. Which choice best describes the environmental pattern of the passage? And a careful analysis of a traditional practice in an untraditional way is a detailed depiction of a meaningful encounter. It is a meaningful encounter, and it's also pretty detailed, so we'll see about that. A definitive response to a series of questions, that's not a question at all. And a cheerful recounting of an amusing anecdote. It's not really amusing, it's pretty serious. Answer is B because everything else is wrong. We did this one, which was C. Which reaction does the Kira most fear from She? She will consider his proposal inappropriate. Um, well, actually, this is an evidence-based question, so again, we could look at the lines here, right here. His voice was self-refined. This is voice being self-refined, say anything about why Akira fears from She. No, it doesn't, so that's incorrect. 4951. You know how children speak so earnestly that hurriedly, so nearly about things. This is a question doesn't apply to anything, so that is incorrect as well. It does not fit anything to either. 63 or 64. We have an understanding presented by them of his proposal. So he's actually stating what he fears. He doesn't want her to judge it. So that seems like the correct answer. Can we match this answer with something up here? She will consider the proposal inappropriate. That is exactly what he's applying here. So the answer is actually A. And what fits here, given evidence, is C. So you answer the question. Answer in the passage, Akira addresses She with. So this one, you just gotta base it off how you read the passage, and if you can get some small details. In this case, you can see how he reacts to calling her madam, and also bowing, hitting his head straight down. So that's the kind of respect. Where do you find respect? You find respect in the interface of the affection. That's not the case. Objectivity. That's not the case. Amusement. That's exactly not what the case is. So answer is D. As you can see, I eliminated one or two words. So use that strategy when you take the test. So that should be every question covered. So let's see. If there are no questions, then I can go ahead and end it. If you have questions, go type it in the chat. Okay. Okay, ready now?